Well, this job of holding government accountable is not just for the press alone. Yes, we have a huge role to play in that one, and we'll continue to do it. But don't forget, we have three arms of government, essentially for the purpose of, balance and check. There's the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. We have talked so much about a tool for accountability and transparency, which is audit, the Auditor General's reports. It's almost Aya's nickname now at this stage, because he always refers to it and some of the revelations that come out of it. But it's not just a document for a document's sake. It's essentially meant to go to the Public Accounts Committee of, is it the National Assembly or the State Assembly? They're meant to go through it, take a look at the notes of the Auditor General, the infractions and all of that, and pass recommendations either by way of investigating the agency in charge, taking punitive measures, or even, going to the maybe EFCC, ICPC, as the case may be. So there's a lot of work for the legislature in holding government accountable. And this morning, we're expanding that conversation, which we started a few days ago about, accountability and transparency in governance. But we're taking this to the realm of the legislature, just how much work has been done in that area. And to have this conversation with us is Honorable Abdullahi Abdulkadir, who is the Deputy Chairman, Public Accounts Committee, House of Representatives, is a representative of Ningi Waji Federal Constituency of APC in Bauchi State. Thank you for joining us on the program, Honorable. I'd like to get right into it. The Auditor General's report is something I imagine you know very well now, having had to go through it time and again. But the big question is, I know the Auditor General has made revelations, at least in that report, shocking revelations, people thinking this is actually going on. But I'd like to know how much work you've been able to do with that Auditor General's report in ensuring that those found culpable, or at least those indicted, ministries, departments, or agencies, are brought to book.
Thank you very much.
It's your call. I understand he's back with us now, so you may want to ask him those questions, Malboy.
Indeed, Ayo, we seem to have been seeing a decline in respect for institutions, and I think that Honorable already spoke to the fact that some MDAs do not cooperate when they're trying to do their work as members of the Public Accounts Committee. Ordinarily, one would think that when you hear the name Public Accounts, that the Public Accounts Committee would like to see any MDA in connection with the Auditor General's report, that MDA, or whoever it is responsible in that MDA, should be clamoring to quickly come and clear their name. But what you seem to be reporting is the fact that they seem to they seem to shy away, or they refuse to cooperate. What usually happens? I know you've already taken us through the process, but for those MDAs that refuse to cooperate, is it that they do not have substantive heads? Is it that they feel that they're more powerful than the entirety of the National Assembly? Or is it that they think that they do not answer to the Public Accounts Committee? What exactly has informed their attitude from what you know?
From what I know, in fact, the issue of non-cooperation it starts from the work of the Auditor General, because we have instances where the Auditor General for the Federation reported some agencies that did not take the issue of the work of the Auditor General with the seriousness that it deserves. And in fact, even besides that, in some cases, they are even faced with some hazards in the work, because there was a time we had a retreat. They reported to us that they went to a security formation, I think somewhere in Kaduna, to go and check the books of that organization. And they ended up being detained. They ended up being detained, and they were made to face the sun. Things like that. So these are part of the hazard that even the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation are going through. And like I said, each time the Auditor General teams visit an MDA, after doing their work, there is what is called the exit meeting. And this exit meeting, most of the issues observed by the team of the Auditor General are supposed to be tracked, But sometimes just the exit meeting, it becomes a problem for the MDAs. So, and the Auditor General will be left with no option other than to include it in the report and then lay it before the Parliament. So you see, that is where the issue of non-cooperation starts. So when they come, we'll now give them, it is their right to be given, the charges made against them by the Auditor General for the Federation. And you realize that some of them, a lot of them will come with explanations that are admissible. So but you wonder why, in the first instance, why they refused to cooperate with the Auditor General for the Federation, why they had to, take and allow the process to linger on for long, why they had to, make public funds to be used. Because each time we summon them, they have to use the resources, public resources, to make copies of responses, to take time out of their busy schedules and things like that. So that is where the issue of non-cooperation even starts, before they come into the Parliament. And at the parliamentary level, we also...
sorry to interrupt you, Honorable. I'm really struggling to wrap my head around what you've just said, that the Auditor General or people from the Auditor General's office, in the course of doing their work, their legitimate duty, that they went to a security agency and they were detained and asked to face the sun like secondary school children. That is the height of disrespect to the job and the function of the Auditor General, and even to the people, to the dignity of the people who went to carry out the legitimate work. And it would seem that it continues to speak to the impunity which people continue to say that we seem to be experiencing a lot of. And it looks like we're just helpless in handling, handling the magnitude of the impunity which we see everywhere. I know that the House in recent times, not just the House now, even the Senate in recent times, has also struggled with invitations. That invitations are sent out to members of the executive, ministries, departments, agencies under the executive, and in many instances, the people who come are not the people who are requested to come. So how have you been able to handle that? First, to continue to highlight this issue, looking for punishment, because there ought to be consequences. If there are no consequences, the next agency will hear that such a thing happened to members of the Auditor General's office and nothing happened. So the next time, it could happen again. So what exactly would you be advocating in terms of consequences and, bringing the full weight of either the National Assembly or the law to bear on situations and circumstances like that?
Thank you very much. Part of the things that we are doing to ensure compliance, one, we take up issues. Sometimes we report these MDAs to the leadership of the House, and the leadership intervenes. We have. Secondly, we resort to reporting these MDAs in most cases to the Secretary, to the government of the Federation. Thirdly, we also resort to publication, because if we give you a chance once, twice, thrice, and you fail to show up, we publish names of erring MDAs, and by the time we start taking them to the press, we see that they try to, respond. But like you observe, this is not enough. I agree with you. There should be stiffer consequences, and that is exactly what we are trying to do with the audit today. You asked me my opinion, what we should do to this MDAs. For me, if any agency deliberately refused to appear for any committee, not just even the public account, but the public account is even a constitutional committee. It's mentioned in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So for any MDA that refused to appear before us, I believe in the law, we should put issues like, maybe cutting some part of their budget. asking the head of that organization to go on a suspension for like 3 months or 6 months. That's because, I don't know why sometimes if you try to be civil in operations, if you try to be civil in behavior, you are being taken for granted. Let me give you an instance. If now some punitive-oriented organizations like the EFCC invite any governmental official, you will see that within no time they respond to their invitation. Why? Because they are afraid of being, the way they approach, the way they handle people. No, people don't want to get that kind of treatment to them. Have you ever heard of invitations being turned down, EFCC invitations being turned down? It's very rare. It's very, very rare. But because we are doing things in a civil way, I think people are taking that for granted. So that is why we will be left with no option than to put these provisions in the law that will make any agency or any head of agency that refuse to appear before the auditor or the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly, there must be or there should be something very strong, in order to deter other MDAs from taking the same path. So I agree with you. We need to be strict. We need to be stringent. We need to have clear out consequences on people who refuse to appear, on MDAs and their chief executives who refuse to appear. And another area of concern, like you observe,
Honorable, just a moment. I know that you'd like to tell us of another area. Just quickly, I would like to know when you report to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, what the response has been. And then in general, in terms of carrying out your work as Deputy Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee in the House, how much would you say that your committee has been able to either save or unearth in terms of accountability, let's say further entrench in the system in the line of doing your work?
Well, okay, quickly before I answer this question, what I was trying to say, sometimes you invite MDS to appear. The people you need to see, you need to talk to are the accounting officers. So, but they resort to a kind of like trying to frustrate the hearing. They will tell someone that is not at even the senior management level of an organization. So in most cases, we turn them back. We refuse to take them until the appropriate person is before us, and or until there is a kind of the MDA takes for permission to send certain category of people. Maybe the particular aspect we are trying to deal with that day needs some kind of expert, and maybe the experts are not at the highest management level of the organization. Sometimes we give these concessions. But ordinarily, we used to turn them back and ask them, because the Procurement Act is very clear, Section 20, that it's immaterial whether somebody exercises the power on your behalf. The person that the accounting officer is liable will be held responsible, in terms of procurement issues. So this is very clear, and we make MDS to realize this. And I think with our insistence, the MDS have realized that yes, we mean business, and they have the compliance level is improving. And in terms of our report, our report to the SDF, it is also yielding some results, though not as we wish, but at least it's better. Whenever we send 1, 2, 3, you realize that you have some certain number of them coming as a result of making referral to the Office of the Secretary General or Secretary Federation. And back to a question on can you come up with the question again? That's about just ask me a question. And
what the consequences are when you report to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, one, and then secondly, if you have been able to save any money, uncover monies in the line of doing your work as Deputy Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes. Yeah. As a committee, work as a committee under the indefatigable leadership of our chairman, Busayo Oluoleoke, and under his leadership, the committee has done a lot of things for the greater good of this country. We have been so innovative in terms of the work that we are doing as a committee. For instance, now as we speak now, before this summer break, and in the last maybe couple of months, we have been looking at the issues of tax evasion.
Okay, we'll try to get Honorable's response to that question and perhaps another. Okay, Honorable, go ahead now. We have you back.
Yes. From the time we started that, a lot of companies we discovered that are, cleverly evading taxes in this country. We have made them to come to the realization that that period is over. We have been working with the Federal Inland Revenue Service to X-ray and examine some companies that have been claiming some kind of fiscal policies of the country to evade tax. For example, if a company comes in, there is what they call pioneer status, and that pioneer status is supposed to give you a kind of freedom to operate, without the burden and responsibility of tax for a certain period of time, 5 years. So, because of our investigation, we discovered that some companies, after that 5 years, instead of them now come on the tax net, they will go and register another company in the name of the same business. They'll go and register a new name and go and claim this pioneer status again. And you see, that way the economy is losing. It's a kind of we are losing money through that, and we have made some companies. I don't want to mention company names here but there is a company that paid the Federal Inland Revenue Service over 24 billion in the course of this exercise we are doing. And there is also another company that is responsible for, management, a kind of sort of management or managing some free zones in the country that we trace about 17 billion, which we realize it is in the central bank. There are a lot of these issues that
so maybe putting those two together. Pardon me, maybe about at least 40 billion you've been able to...
We have also realized, it's quite higher than this, because I didn't just have time to put these things together. Maybe we'll find time and do a press briefing and give you details of work of...
Because it will be important for Nigerians to know just how much work you're doing.
Nigerians will know in the appropriate time.
Okay, Honorable, we have to wind down now, but you can quickly make that point so I can put in another question. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I was trying to bring the issue of, what do you call it, tax. Honestly, this is a serious issue in this country. For me, I think we should stop waiver. We should come up with a more transparent, with a more patriotic waiver policy in this country, because it will annoy you to know that sometimes companies come and claim waiver on things that we should ordinarily be doing in this country. We have seen a company that got an import waiver of over 5 billion naira on things that we have them in this country. Why? Why should we be doing this? We have no other country than Nigeria.
Okay, so Honorable, as we wind down now.
At the end of the day, like I said, At the end
Honorable,
of the day, some of the takeaways we're having, yes.
okay, pardon me, just to wind down on this, I'd like you to speak to a specific issue that was raised, and that was the report of missing arms in the police, over 178,000 arms and ammunition. And I recall the House of Reps, I think it was in January, saying that it will be investigated. So what is the state of that investigation?
Well, the decision of the House is, even though it was raised by the Auditor General for the Federation, and if you recall, our chairman urged the House to give us a further mandate to go ahead with that investigation, but our request was not given. An ad hoc committee was set up to deal with that issue, and I can't speak for the ad hoc committee because I'm not a member of that committee, and the job of going through that has been taken. It has been assigned to that committee, so to speak. So I don't really have much to say about that.
Well, this is a point we have to anchor. Honorable Abdullahi Abdulkadir, the Deputy Chairman, Public Accounts Committee, House of Representatives. It's been quite instructive speaking with you on the program this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.